Hello, everybody, and welcome to our after church tea time. I'm Granville Campbell, and I'd like the rest of the team to please introduce themselves, and then we'll carry on from there.
Hi, I am Jenny.
And I'm Rachel, and it's very nice to be here.
Thank you, and thank you for joining us. And to everybody that's joining us today, please feel free to share your thoughts, experiences, even just any insights that you've had from the Sunday service today and the sermon from Adam and Brianne on freeing ourselves from struggle. And so, yeah, we're gonna discuss some of our takeaways from today's sermon and share anything else that we feel called to share as we progress through the conversation. So I think one of the things that really stood out for me, especially today, because one of our other participants to after church tea time wasn't able to join. And so there was like, this energy of scurrying, like, ooh, now what's happening? And, I was like, okay, God, I need help here. And so I asked a couple of people, and I was sitting through just reading their responses, and Jenny's name just popped up on the top of my Facebook Messenger screen. I was like, okay, let's ask Jenny. And it just so happens that she was free to join us. And so, yeah, God just answered that call within me, feeling like, okay, what's going to happen? Like we can't drop off the church tea time, and I feel like it's something that Adam and Brianne spoke to around the energy of control, there's a component where you have a responsibility to fulfill something, but there's also a component where you kind of need to choose to partner with God in that space in order to release the control. And so, it just played out perfectly. And I was like, of course, that would be the sermon where I'm hosting after church, Peter. Like a real world example right there in my face kind of thing. But yeah, it just kind of cemented and allowed me to also just really focus in on what Adam and Brianne were sharing. So yeah, I'm going to open it up to you guys in terms of what were some of the key takeaways that you had? Because today for me, this was like a real example that was so fitting to the sermon today.
Oh, yes. I love that. And I love how it just all works out perfectly. And it ties in so well with how the two themes were letting go of struggle and talking to God. And that the way to let go of struggle is to talk to God and to build that relationship of talking to God, learning how to listen, learning how to see and follow what God is sharing and what God is always communicating. And so I feel like that's just so perfect in that when these things arise and we get that choice, are we going to struggle or are we going to relax and surrender and let God show us the path through it? Because the path is the way through any struggle is always there, and we just have to let go. We just have to surrender and open ourselves up to the solution, to the process, to the place where God is guiding us. And I love that in talking to God, that they asked, at the end, Brianne asked Adam, what does talking to God mean to you? That's the window, that's the doorway into that talking to God, into that learning how to let go of the struggle and follow. And it's part of the teaching too, of follow the good feeling, because God communicates can communicate through bliss, through the good feeling, through the place that feels easy, natural, and loving to walk through, even when there's a mountain of challenges that could bring up the anxiety, bring up the invitation to struggle, blocks to work through. And it just all works together so perfectly and ends up in more talking to God, more bliss, more desire, more following what feels good and following those desires that come up and change as we open up to more. Just beautiful sermon.
Yeah, I think it's really important to remember that God doesn't make it hard for us. We think sometimes that it has to be hard. But if it's hard, we're not working with God. God makes it easy. We just, yeah, I suppose we're conditioned to think that we have to do everything, that it has to be difficult. We have to work really hard. But no, we have to unlearn all of that and get ourselves out of the way and not try to do God's job for him. We've just got to take the next steps that are shown to us. If feelings come up, simply work through them, release them, bring love there, and God does the rest. I mean, we can't do it if we try and do God's job, obviously. Yeah, so it is about just relaxing and allowing the process to unfold. And if we are trying to control how the process unfolds or how God brings us on good, then we get a little bit with discipline until we do let go of control.
Yeah, I like that. You know, and I think it's something that Adam and Brian shared also in terms of the energy of creativity and the energy of your imagination. And you know, it's something that I get, like, I've been trying to, like, working through this over the last few weeks and just kind of feeling into that space of what's really the desire of my heart. You know, like really just sitting with it and allowing it to just come out. Because, like, you know, sometimes, again, it's that energy of we let go of a certain component of ourselves because we thought it might be frivolous. There might have been not so great feedback when we were growing up and things like that. And so, you know, like, I had to just sit with it and just ask myself, like, what is really here? What is really at the core? And it's interesting to discover that there were things that I did as a child that I just let go of, not comfortably, even out of a choice. I just allowed it to fizzle out. And when I feel into it now, it's like, actually, that stuff brought me joy. That stuff was fun for me. And I think it's something that you also shared in the meditation, Jenny. It's like, what is really in your heart? And be okay with the answers, like, explore the answers, look into them. And it, you know, it just all cemented it really nicely, because the fact is, you kind of do need to get quiet and sit with yourself and go into that space of exploration in order to release that energy of struggling. Like, the energy of struggle to me, you know, when I think of it, it's like this picture of just being on a hamster wheel and just running, but, you know, running in that circle kind of thing. And then you sit down and you're like, but what am I really feeling in my heart? And you're like, that just, it releases that anxious energy, that struggle energy, that anxiety that you don't even know that you're walking with until you do become quiet. And when you do become quiet, you really actually start to connect with yourself in such a deeper way.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I love that. And in that connection, we start to uncover those desires, just like you mentioned, the desire that you had when you were younger, and things that let go, or things when we're young, and, you know, the day-to-day life of the physicality of getting from place to place. And you get brought this opportunity where your parents are like, okay, you have to pick between this, and this, because we can't get you to all of these places. And it's in those moments where, you know, I found in my life where I let go of something that I absolutely loved. And for me, it was like little dance classes, right? And dancing. And I let go of that, something I loved, but it always came back around later. Because, like, later in school, there were more opportunities. And it's just something that stays with you. And those true desires in your heart, they just never leave. You know, they're always there when you go in to connect. And I feel a big part of that is also embracing those desires. Because sometimes when we go in and we discover a desire, that in itself can throw a little oh switch, like uh-oh. A little uh-oh switch.
Yeah.
And so it's a process of letting go of the struggle and embracing and accepting and honoring the desires that we find in our heart and allowing ourselves to explore those, be it in our imagination, be it in our realities, be it through, trying something new. We just have to really accept and embrace all of ourselves and everything that we find when we go inside. So then we can heal through it and clear out what doesn't belong and bring in more of what is actually loving and true to our inner beings.
Yeah, yes, there was certainly a theme in the sermon about having had desires as children, and then we lose touch with many of those desires, especially during the teenage years. And it's about going back to yourself and being with yourself and reconnecting with these desires, because some of the desires that we're honoring now, they've been there since we were little kids. It hasn't changed. And as a child, I always wanted to make a point of remembering what it was like being a child. I didn't want to lose that childlike, I don't know, wonder, quality, whatever you want to call it. But then, of course, as we grow up, inevitably life is going to turn around and kick you in the teeth several times. So there is that. Those are challenges to overcome. But I did make a point of remembering these little bits and pieces. So in a way, I suppose it may have been easier to reconnect with those places.
And as we heal and reconnect, we return to that innocence, we return to that purity, we return to that sense of joy and wonder and awe at all of the things that surround us in our life, of everything God has created.
Yeah, and we realize that doesn't leave you when you stop being a child, it stays with you. So maybe too many people think that's those times of joy and wonder from their childhood, they're gone and they'll never get them back. But that's not true. You never stop being children.
Yeah, it's something that kind of stands out for me, as stood out for me a lot throughout the sermon, was also just, that reconnection with your inner child. And it's really what you guys are talking to, like it always surfaces in some way or another. The desire surfaces, or that childlike energy surfaces, because in truth, your inner child has never left. And so, like reconnecting is just us getting out of the way of our own vision, even, like our vision of ourselves. And I think it's one of the things that Adam and Brianne shared as well, is knowing yourself takes you closer to knowing God, and means you are closer to knowing God, because at the core, we are an expression of God. We are created to create God's creation, kind of thing. But it's just that energy that is so connected. Like there's no disconnect there. Like if you feel into it, you just feel the truth of the statement. Like we are created by God to create for God. It's it's such an epic design, and sometimes and in its epic design phase and stage and ness, it's not complicated. It makes such perfect sense in that simplicity of how it's explained, and yet the design is so complex. And I think that's one of the things that we keep on learning. We keep on learning to refine our thought process in our consciousness. And it's something that Jeff and Shaleia shared today in our live class. It's just refining all the time, getting closer to the truth all the time, and getting closer to purifying your consciousness into perfect union. And you can, like, you know, it's almost like the sense I start having is that there was never not union. You know, it's just like, okay, you're just kind of seeing it more clearly now, but there was never really not union.
Yes, it's the epitome of getting out of our own way, of opening our eyes to what's been there forever, you know, what's been there all along, and seeing that the closer we get to God, the more we learn how to talk to God, the more we can see retroactively in our lives how, oh my God, that was God too. God was there in that moment. Oh, even when I was like, no, God, I don't like the word God. I don't want any part of that. God was still there.
Yes.
God was still moving in my life. I was still, when I would ask questions in my heart about how does the world work? How does this happen? How does that? What is this? What is that? It's always been God answering, and that I've been talking to the whole time.
Yeah, I've been talking to, well, just about everyone I've been talking to this week about how you can't be separate from God. It's not possible. It's like God can't leave himself. We can create the illusory experience of feeling separate from God, but it doesn't mean that we are. It's just something to clear out. You realize that God was there all along. I mean, we can turn away, we can look in the corner, and God's still in the corner. God's everywhere. We can close our eyes and God's still there. We probably have chosen not to see him, but that's where we make the new choice, to see God, to be with God.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and I feel a big part of the struggle in my life and my journey has been when I come to those places where I recognize I haven't seen God before. That creates the struggle of like, oh, well, then I feel bad about that. And I create even more struggle about coming to the awareness of, look, I've learned this now. Let me go struggle about that instead of, and it's really this process of learning how to stop doing that, right? How to learn how to be like, oh, I've learned this now. Yes, now I can use that to learn more and to discover how much more I don't even know, and let it be a beautiful unfolding process instead of a struggle at every step. Like, it's truly a choice. There's always a perception. And I notice as I go, those two perceptions will come up when things happen, when I heal something, when I reach a new place, a new awareness. I will see both. I will see how beautiful it can be, and I will see in the same word, in the same phrase, in the same thing that's happening in my life, I will also see the negative side, the side that's telling me that, you know, I suck in some way. And it's like, look, I get to choose which one of these I get to nurture. And I nurture the part that shows how far I've come. And then I look at the part that wants to say, oh, this is terrible. And that's what holds the place for me to heal.
Mm.
Yeah, but that part isn't even real.
Sorry, say that again?
So that part isn't even real.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So we don't have to worry about that part.
You know, what I like is that there's always that energy of almost a duality. And you've got a choice in that energy all the time. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I've learned is not to ignore either. Like, look at all of it. Mm-hmm. It can only take me into deeper healing. And one of the things that I do quite often is I look like I've got a very logical flow to my healing. So when I look at something, I reason into my healing. It's my design. It's what I do. Like, I connect dots and bring them together and find patterns. And so, yeah, it's something that before I used to think is this critically over-analyzing energy. But it's not. It's just how I'm designed. I have to really unpack stuff in order to make sense of it, in order to heal through it. It's my journey. That's what I do, and that's the energy that allows me to find solutions in things. It's the energy that allows me to solve problems. It's just what it is. And even in my coaching sessions with Brienne, we go through it's literally that energy of a roller coaster, because we go through each and every space, and that's how I do my healing. And in the past, I used to think like I'm over analyzing stuff, and now I just realize that no, that's just how I was created. So it's okay.
Yes, absolutely. And I feel like that's another really great point of where struggle comes from, is when we fight against our natural inclinations to be how we're designed to be, and to be who we're designed to be, who we're created to be. And so honoring that and moving with that, I feel that makes it easier, more efficient, and allows the healing to actually be able to complete when we...
It makes it lighter, because that energy of resistance is actually quite heavy. And yet, as you said, when you flow with everything, really, just flow with it and allow that flow to happen. It's literally also the thing that Christy shared in the card read, the meandering flow. That's what it is. It's not a straight line. So it's okay for us to, in our thought process, meander. It's, even in the meditations from Jeff and Shaleia, like she says, it's okay for your consciousness to drift between places. It happens. Like, let it happen. The more you allow it, the sooner it leaves. You're allowing the flow to happen. And one of the things I've had to learn over the last few kind of days, even months. So I have a cleaning lady that comes in, but for some odd reason, she happened to, on certain days, not be able to make it. So she comes in on the day when I have my coaching session. And in the middle of my coaching session, she's knocking on the door to say, I'm done. I was like, really? And it was just that energy of, actually, you need to flow with life. That's happening in life right now. So don't get irritated. Handle that component and come back. And literally, it takes me 2 minutes to open the door and let her out. I was like, what is going on here? And the fact is, nothing's going on. Life is flowing. Life is happening. And I'm learning to flow more with life.
Yes. And I find that's a beautiful balance there of flowing with life and honoring our time and space and those things too. It's like we learn how to set boundaries and set the direction to go with the flow. You know what I mean? It's like look at the analogy of the river that meanders, but it's still, you can see the direction it's heading. Like for me, it's the Mississippi River that goes all the way south through the middle of the United States. And it winds and shifts in all kinds of ways, but you know where it's going. You can see and feel where it's going. And so I feel like it's this beautiful seeing the direct line and taking the paths that wind. And this is where I get lost, because when I see the direct line, I'm like, oh, I want to skip the bends and go that way. And God's like, nope, not. You can try, but that current's going to sweep you one way or the other. You may as well swim in it.
Yeah, and I think it's that energy of progression. Like you can see that it's moving forward. You might not be able to see around every bend, but there's still an energy of progression. And that is what kind of feels more peaceful and more easy, that you do realize that even on those turns, there's progression.
Mhm.
And I feel like that's the energy that kind of gets unlocked through a sermon like this. Just that awareness of actually, it's not a struggle. It might just have been, as you said, Rachel, that illusionary imagination that it is a struggle. That energy of the illusion that is literally just a veil that is kind of being pulled back.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've got a couple of pointers on what's just been said. Going back to the Mississippi River. Yeah, that is one of Earth's great rivers. It drains almost half the United States. And you talking about it reminded me of a quote from Henry Miller from the book The Colossus of Marusi, where he said, you can either live closed or open. So better to live open and flow like a river, and be prepared to die in order to live again as an ocean.
Mhm.
And I think that refers to ego death. But and also, while we're with the theme of flowing, like you mentioned the meditations. It's not about suppressing the thoughts that arise, because it's the nature of the mind to have thoughts. As long as you have a mind, then you have thoughts. So it's mastering the skill of just letting those thoughts pass by like clouds in the sky without getting caught up in them, because if you get caught up in them, then you're not flowing anymore. You get stuck there. So a bit of mental discipline there.
Yeah, especially in meditation, it's it's honoring that the brain just needs to process that in the moment when those thoughts come up, and it's perfectly safe to allow those. You're not exiting meditation, you're not losing anything by letting them come up and go. I feel like that's another part of surrendering and struggle, when we fight the thoughts that come into our head, as opposed to just allowing them, looking at them, then we know what to do with them. If it's something that we need to put a boundary against, if it's something that we need to explore, if it's something that's leading us to something great. We can't make that determination if we don't allow ourselves to have the thoughts to be examined, to then do what needs to actually be done with them.
Now, something else that just kind of popped into my mind was also just where Adam and Brienne shared, that energy of allowing God to create through you. And I've had those moments with sermons as well, as like, I don't know, I don't know what to share here. Like, what is it? And I'll go through weeks and jot down things as they pop up in my mind, and I'll jot them down on my notes on my phone. And then, I was just like, this past summer, I was like, okay, I don't actually know. I don't know what my sermon's gonna be. And it just so happened that, at that point, I just started scrolling through the notes on my phone, and I found this. I was like, oh, God just literally picked it up and said, okay, there you go. There, in your face, this is what you need to talk about. And it was like that same energy of today's tea time. It's like, okay, there's a need here. And God is like, that person. And when I looked at it, initially, I did nothing with it. And then I looked again and I was like, actually, yes, why not? I'm saying I need help, and God is saying, here's your help, here's your help, here's your help, here's your help. And you're not paying attention to it. And I think, that it's good. It's a good awareness to have, that sometimes God puts something so directly in front of you that you're still looking around corners and bends to find answers when the thing is right in front of you. And it's that thing that Adam and Brienne were sharing, like, When the thing is there, the thing is there. You know the thing is there. Look at the thing.
Oh, and see, and that's the struggle, is to be like, oh, no, not that thing. Oh, no, not that thing.
Yeah, it can be too obvious. I think then you can't see the wood for the trees.
And I think, that's the thing though. Like sometimes it is so obvious that we think it can't be the thing. And that's the energy to kind of learn to heal through. Like you're required to only look into the distance. You also need to look at what's right in front of you.
Yeah, luckily, God is very patient with us.
Thank God.
Yes. Yeah, that's really cool. So yeah, we've got a couple of comments. One from Maria saying it's okay to travel through the mountains. I think it was where we were talking about the whole meandering energy. And, and something else that kind of stood out for me as well in connecting today's class and the sermon was Jeff and Shaleia sharing with us in class that Earth is a school and we are meant to learn. And one of the things that I've learned through my coaching journey was also that when you're in a state of learning, you're not necessarily going to be in a state of struggle. Right. Like learning actually allows you to relax so that you can absorb information. So like when you were saying, Jenny, that we are learning. And it's okay to learn. And it's okay to learn that the things that we've sometimes learned are not the things that we need anymore. But it helps when you kind of surrender into the space of, I am learning. And as you learn, it's okay to relax then. Because a learning state it's generally not an anxiety-filled space. And so in that state of learning, you're probably going to find that you let go of the energy of struggle much more easily.
Yes. Especially it's in making that decision to approach okay, in learning, I'm going to have this beginner's mind. And when you make this choice, when you make that decision, then you're open and you're easily open and relaxed and being open to what God is going to teach you along that bend in the river, right? And it's just, it makes it easier to let go when we decide, okay, what do I have to learn here? And that in itself helps let go of the struggle.
Yeah, especially when it's a challenging situation. You can remind yourself, right, this is here to teach me something. What am I supposed to learn from this? So when you've fully learnt the lesson, it don't show up anymore. It can't. It's served its purpose.
Yep. I think as you spoke to something quite important about giving yourself permission. It's allowing yourself to learn, because I think sometimes, and when I say giving yourself permission, it's just that thing. We've almost gotten conditioned in certain ways, and even to just make new choices might be something tougher. But if we even just give ourselves permission to start making new choices, it feels different. Because we put ourselves in the space of allowing. And I've had to also learn that over the last few months. It's just allow. And whether it's a thought, whether it's a feeling, doesn't matter what it is. It's that energy of, I give myself permission to walk this path, to walk this thought process through to its end. Because something else might happen there, or I easily just let it go. Sometimes I'll completely switch off something, and then my mind solves it for me in the background anyway. But it's kind of not resisting the thing that's there. And again, it's just, wait, sorry, I'm actually just reading this comment from Maria. It says, there's a song called Just Around the River Bend from Pocahontas. And I suppose, it's always that thing, but like, I feel like that this energy of giving yourself permission also allows you to relax. It actually is a freeing energy. And I think that's really the bigger lesson here, is to kind of to free ourselves from those thought processes of it's heavy, it's a struggle, this is difficult, why is this happening? And to go into that energy of what is this teaching me? It just helps more. It has helped me relax quite a bit. It's also helped me to allow life. Like I think some of the time I was not actually allowing life before, and now I am, and it just feels so much lighter.
Yes. And when you have that lightness, when we have that ability to go with it, then we also get to see the beauty that's there along the way, And in addition to like letting go of the struggle and asking, what can I learn here? I also am always asking, where's the beauty in this? Like, show me the beauty in this too, show me the lesson and show me the beauty. And so that I get to have the full experience and cultivate that joy along the way, cultivate that bliss, that happiness, that good feeling, so that we can build that momentum and motivation to keep going. Even through the toughest of struggles, it can still be beautiful. And always ask to show me that too.
Yeah, and you have to trust the process, you have to trust God and where God's leading you, because you must always remember that God is always guiding you perfectly. There was a TFAS class where Jeff was talking about a river that meanders round, and it looks like it's taking you further away from your dream, so you hang on to a branch, and that's the struggle. It's actually very painful to hang on, and you keep hanging on until either the branch breaks or your arm breaks, and then the river just takes you straight back round to your dream.
Oh, I just have to share this. This is just too much for me in this moment of how you said, or how your arm breaks. Well, there's a moment in one of my last coaching sessions where they're talking about how, you want your whole twin flame, not just a piece of it. You want your whole twin flame, your whole good, your whole thing. And the analogy literally was you don't just want this arm with no body attached to it.
Okay, we'll manifest that later, honey. You can work with that.
In the same way, we don't want just part of the dream. We don't want just a piece of our desires. We want the whole thing. We want all of God, all of ourselves. And when we allow the struggle to persist, when we go into the struggle, we're cutting off part of ourselves. We're cutting off that piece that we need to move forward. And we're saying, no, I don't want this piece of my good. I don't want this piece of the amazing thing God has for me.
Yeah, and that's actually very similar to what I've been talking about in a coaching session this week, where I was encouraging somebody to claim all of her good, but she was claiming all of her good, but except the little bits that she didn't feel worthy of just yet. So that's not claiming all of your good. You want the whole thing. And obviously these were the bits that she really did want. So I guided her to look at that, because we are deserving of all of our good, not just little bits, not just in one area.
And I love how Adam and Brienne shared that they had found this perfect apartment, that God was guiding them to this apartment. And then as they allowed themselves to feel into that and look into it, and imagine themselves there and go for it, then they found the things that they needed to heal in that experience. And once they healed what was in that experience for them, then it opened up to like, oh, no, there's something better that we actually desire. And there's something better that's actually for us. And that I feel was a very important lesson for me here too.
Well, that's working the process and taking all the steps that are presented, because it's actually quite similar to my coach manifesting a new place to live. And it came in 3 rounds. It was supposed to be at the end of this year, and she surrendered to that. And then it was brought forward to this month. She surrendered again, and she actually got her new place back in December, and it's absolutely perfect for her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I'm going through that now and moving myself. And so it's, it's one of those ways where you really have to surrender into what God has for you, and really have to surrender into the desires in your heart, and really looking at that, embracing it, and getting really honest with yourself, myself, and what my reality is showing me, and what my reality is also showing me is possible, the opportunities that are there too, as well as the blocks that are reflected, because they're both there, and they're both showing me and guiding me into the path that's for me, that will support me for where I'm at right now. And it may not be the place for a long time or a little time. I don't know that. And I'm not going to know that until I go down that road and go into that space and heal everything that comes up.
And you have to be okay with not knowing what God has in store for you, and just taking it on faith, and know that you'll be looked after.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, I like that, because like one of the things that also came through the sermon was just that releasing the energy of attachment. And I think it's what both of you are speaking to right now. It's just, that we may not actually have the full picture. And it's okay not to have the full picture, but it is not okay to not heal the piece that needs to be healed and feel the thing that needs to be felt right now. And I think that's what Adam and Brianne were talking to, in terms of go in there, feel it, allow yourself to visualize it, allow yourself to feel that energy. Because I don't know whose sermon it was, but somebody shared in their sermon about, it was either in a sermon or a live chat, somebody was talking about, well, you want a horse, but you live in an apartment. Is it really an appropriate dream to have your horse inside the apartment? Kind of. It's just that energy of, like, God knows what's practical and what's right for you right now. That doesn't mean this is a final destination. So it's kind of really nice to allow yourself to be open to the possibility. Like, you want the horse, but you can't have the horse in the apartment. So maybe manifest the house or the farm first, and then manifest the horse, kind of thing. But like, again, so like that practicality of the energy of healing. Like you just feel what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. Like, you cannot, for instance, drive a Ferrari if you have a Toyota budget, kind of thing. And I think this is also somebody's sermon, or I think it was Danny and Christina's sermon on their car and healing. And I just feel like all our sermons are following a nice flow into just showing what is popping up for us in our awarenesses and sharing that with everybody. It really feels comfortable and kind of feels like there's a nice, truthful thread to add to the progression of our sermons as well.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And in building on that, like, I feel like in both of those examples, it was an explanation of why this thing is not in your reality right now, And on the other flip side of that is that when something does come into your reality, like say you do actually magically get a horse in your reality, then there is also going to be a way to take care of that coming into your reality. There is also going to be a way for you to be with that horse in reality, whether it's a stable down the road that houses horses, so that horse will be perfectly cared for while you're living in your apartment. There is always some way. When God brings something new into your life, there is a way to honor it and to love it and be with it. It's just a matter of, taking that process and healing the blocks so that you can see that.
Yeah, that feels good. I feel like that was a really nice way to wrap up today's conversation. So just any last thoughts from you, Rachel, before we wrap up?
Well, I think just trusting God here and choosing to be with God and knowing that God is going to bring you what will make you happiest.
Amen.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a good solid wrap up. So with that, I'm going to say thank you to everybody for joining us. Thank you to the team for our conversation today. We'd also like to invite everybody to please like and subscribe to our Church of Union YouTube channel, where you will find all our previous live conversations as well as our past Sunday services. And yeah, please feel free to like and subscribe to the channel and look at the content there. And also, please, again, just feel free to also like and subscribe to our Twin Flames Universe YouTube channel as well, where you'll find some good content there as well. So thank you, everybody, and we shall see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.